Good evening and welcome to Leicester Fan TV. Tom here again for another Away Fans show. As we try and get over the disappointments to loss to Fulham last night. That's 3 defeats in a row, and now we build up to a must-win game against Gillingham in the FA Cup on Saturday. And I say must-win because if we were to lose to Gillingham, a team who are sitting bottom of the Football League, even with a depleted squad, I think Rodgers' days and cards would be marked. I can't see how he would turn it around. Tonight we're joined by Matt from the Gillsintheblood podcast. We were just having a chat before the show and talking about last time these two teams met. That was way back in 2004 was the last time we played at Gillingham's ground. It was a 2-0 win for City. That day, the lineup included Kevin Pressman in goal, Nikos Dabizas, Matt Heath, Chris Makin, Danny Tiato, Joey Goodjohnson, Jason Wilcox, Gareth Williams, James Scowcroft, Trevor Benjamin and Dion Dublin. That's how far we've come with the football club. We don't want to be going back to those days, eh? Let's get Matt in. Let's have a chat about what's going on with Gillingham and what he thinks of the weekend. Hello, mate. You're right.
Yeah, very well, thank you. Appreciate the invite.
No problem at all. I was saying, Gillingham, after a very disappointed season last season, this season probably hasn't gone anywhere near where you fans would have thought. You know, most teams who go down from a league are, always in and around the playoffs. It's very rarely a club gets relegated twice in a row. And when it does happen, it always means that there's a problem at the football club. So what's happened this season? What's gone wrong for Gillingham to be dropping to, the last place in the Football League at the moment?
I think there's a combination of things, but ultimately I think it's been mismanagement from the top. Paul Scally, I'm sure we'll get onto because he has recently sold a major shareholder of the club. He's no longer the majority shareholder, but he's been there for just over a quarter of a century, and we've had some brilliant times under his stewardship. You spoke about before bringing me in about the last time we met at the Priestfield, and that was 2004-05, which was a season we were in the Championship. The clubs couldn't have gone in any more different direction since then. I'm not going to sit here and slag off Paul Scally because he's done a lot of good for the club, and 5 years in the Championship is our highest ever positions in our entire existence. But for a good few years now, he's become very sort of defensive and very antagonistic towards the supporter base, which is never a good sign. It seems to have got to the point where anyone who had an opinion different to Mr. Scally was wrong, and you can't run a football club like that. You have to have thick skin. Running this type of channel like we do is you put yourself out there, so you open yourself up to a certain amount of abuse. And I'm not saying I get it and you get it on any type of level like football chairmen do, but you have to develop a thicker skin and broader shoulders. And I just think over the last few years he's just lashed out at the wrong people, the people that pay money and come through the turnstiles, and the budget's been reduced. Obviously we knew that we was getting relegated out of League One into League Two, but there's just been so many stories of how poor a condition the club is behind the scenes. And again, you can only take it with a pinch of salt. You're not there every day. You only hear snippets and tidbits of information. And the only person who can really tell us what exactly has been going on over the last few years is the man himself. But whether we ever get that, I'm not sure. And that's where we are. 7 goals in 23 league games obviously doesn't help. We're, I think, the worst team in English football, not just Football League, semi-professional, the worst team in English football of any type of standard in terms of goal score and return. We're on for 14 league goals this season, which is absolutely staggering. It's not been fun. I think if it wasn't for the 2 cup runs, because by some miracle, you're the 3rd Premier League team that we're going to face this season. I'm not sure how we've managed that. I think we've scored... I think it's like 13 goals in the cup in 11 games. We're like prolific in that compared to the league, but it's going to be, it's going to be a tough game regardless of whether Leicester are at full strength, mid strength, or much change. You're going to have plenty of footballers that are a lot better than Gillingham Football Club, but it's the magic of the cup. We'll see what happens.
Look, Leicester fans always go back to a few years ago when we went to Newport County and everyone's like, yeah, this will be a walk in the park, few goals there to Newport, and we lost 2-1 that day. And it's Leicester fans will never take this cup competitions unlikely against teams like that, because we saw it years ago against Wycombe Wanderers we thought we were going to a semi-final. Yeah, quarter-final, we'll beat Wickham and we'll be into a semi. We lost to teletext striker Roy Essendon back in the day.
And, God, blimey, I remember him.
You know, Leicester fans won't take any game lightly in the FA Cup because we've been there and we've had enough banana skins and slipped on them too many times to not take any team seriously in the FA Cup. It's the magic of the FA Cup, as they say. We talk about Paul Scully quickly. Obviously, he's been there a very long time. He was there when, I don't like to say the man's name, Peter Taylor came to Leicester from Gillingham back in 2000, the summer of 2000.
Mm-hmm.
He was the next big manager coming through. They were talking about he'd done a lot for Gillingham. I think he just got promoted at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, next thing he was coming to Leicester City. So it says how long your chairman had been at your football club. But we're now talking 2023, you know, and he's still there and he's just handing over the reins. Obviously, you've got Neil Harris, the ex-Millwall striker, in charge of you. You've beaten Brentford, I think, in the Cup, was it not long ago?
Yeah, knocked them out on penalties in the League Cup.
Yeah,
I went to their place. So it's I missed that game. I was on holiday, sod's law.
I listened to that travelling back from Stockport County, I think it was, or one of the games after we're travelling back from in the Cup, and they were talking about it and had you boys on going to penalties. And I was like, this could be an upset, and you did it. Mm-hmm. So again, we don't take lightly. Neil Harris obviously had a great record at Millwall. They didn't get into the Premiership like they wanted to. You know, a lot of clubs want to, and a lot of chairmen probably think more than they should be. Millwall, you know, for me, a good Championship club to get to the Premier League, you've got to go to another level. If you look at the clubs in the Championship, probably Neil Harris was treated a little bit badly when he got sacked from Millwall after all he'd done for that football club. But he's now with you boys. He's been to Cardiff as well. What's he done since coming in? Because obviously, boys got relegated last season. I think he was in charge at the time then. What's he changed this season? Why is it just physically not worked in League Two under him? Because a man who's been in the Championship for so long, you expect to be able to go into that league and have enough experience to be able to bring a team straight back up.
Yeah, I said on my pre-season video right back in the summer, I said I thought we had the best manager at the level in League Two. So he's number one. He's making me look stupid, unfortunately, and for whatever reason, it's not worked. Maybe it's just the fact that he's never managed at this level in League Two. He's been predominantly top end of League One, and in and around mid-table, sort of challenging the playoffs in the Championship. But in terms of the fit when he arrived, we was thinking brilliant. He didn't work with a massive budget at Millwall, but it was a working class club, the same as us. Good fan base that will get behind the team if they work hard and play for the badge on the front of the shirt. But we was confused as a fan base, and that was no disrespect to Neil Harris, but we thought a manager of that calibre, why was he coming in and essentially putting a relegation on his CV? Because we were 11 points adrift with less than a third of the season to go when he took over on transfer deadline day. The first thing he saw was his captain get sold, and he managed to bring in a Millwall player on loan to replace him. But that was it in terms of a transfer window because he had 5 hours. We went down on goal difference eventually on the final day, live on Sky, to Rotherham, who got promoted. So to take it that far was a miracle in itself. So I think he had a lot of sort of money in the bank with the supporter base going into this season, but that's pretty much all gone, unfortunately. And we understand that he's probably working with at least one hand tied behind his back because the budget wasn't there in the summer. He's spoken about the state of the club when he arrived back in January of last year, but we've been over that plenty of times. It's his squad now, so he has to be responsible and he has to be culpable for where we are because he knew the budget at the start of the season and he decided how to spend it. His head of recruitment's gone and been replaced. It's a tricky one now. A lot of the fans want him gone. They think with a new owner, it should be a clean slate, new players, new manager, new coaching staff, start completely again. My only concern with that is we're into a transfer window now, which is probably the biggest in the history of the football club. And I'm not saying that, just to be dramatic. If we don't get this right, we are going to be a non-league football club in 6 months. So my concern now is if you sack him and then spend a period of 2 weeks trying to recruit a new manager, you're eating into valuable recruitment time in terms of players. The fact that we've already signed someone, Tom Nichols from Crawley, who can't play at the weekend, he was allowed to bring in a free agent in the end of November, start of December, says to me that the board are going to, and the new owner are going to back Harris through the transfer window and give him a period of time with a budget. But I can totally understand why a lot of the fans want him gone, because if you go up and down the country in any other situation, if you're a manager who's won 2 league games in 23 and scored 7 goals, you're out on your ear a long time ago as well.
Well, that's what I was about questions here. I'm just looking at the league table in front of me, and obviously you're 24th in League Two, played 23, won 2. You said you've drawn 8, lost 13, minus 21 goal difference, 14 points. But on the other hand, you're only 6 points off Colchester, and you're only like 5 points off Hartlepool. So you're not cut adrift as as bad as you think, considering how poor season you would say you've had, only winning 2 games and scoring 7 goals. You've still picked up 14 points and still kept yourself within striking difference of Hartlepool, Colchester, your Crawley and your Harrogates. I mean, for someone the size of Gillingham, you'd be looking at the teams above you, especially like Harrogate and Newport, and thinking we should be catching these boys, whatever happens towards the end of the season. So, like I say, for Harris to still have his job, it's a very impressive situation he's got himself into.
Yeah, it's a weird one, and I think, you have to, when you're watching us all season, you have to cling to the positives wherever you can and clutch at all the straws that you can find. And I think points to goals ratio, we're probably one of the best in the country. To have got 14 points from 7 goals is frankly staggering. And it's probably our defensive record that's kept us in touch. We've not been horrendous defensively. I think we've lost 2 games 3-0, but no team's ever turn up and we've gone, cool, they're miles better than anything else in League Two. Even the top sides like Stevenage, who we lost to a couple of days ago, one proper
2-1.
chance, we switched off. 2-1 at Sutton, last minute goal the week before. Drew at home to Stevenage in the reverse fixture at the start of the season, late and Orient for an hour. We were better than them and then switched off. It's just individual errors that keep costing us. But we've never been outplayed, I don't think, by any side for the entirety of a 90 minutes. It's just the fact that defenders are under so much pressure thinking, I've got to keep a clean sheet just for us to get something here, that they're probably playing with so much fear and so little confidence that, well, that's why we are where we are, essentially. You can't dress it up, and it comes back to the old saying that the table doesn't lie at the end of the day.
Going into the game Saturday, 12:30 live on BBC. They've gone for it. They think there might be an upset. They always pick the day games that they think there might be an upset, and they obviously feel this could be one of them. What team are you going to put out? Because obviously for most Leicester fans, since we last played you, your team and your changed completely in a long time. What's your team now, and who are the players Leicester fans should be looking out for going into the game on Saturday? Who's the ones that could cause us some problems?
This is where I generally am meant to mention a creative influence or a goal scorer, aren't I? So forgive me if this takes a while, but it's Glenn Morris should start in goal, would provide loads of experience. He was with us a few years ago, but was the backup keeper back then. But he went to Crawley and he's been player of the year 5 times out of 7 seasons. I think loads of experience at this level. Obviously, it's a cup game. I understand that, but yeah, he's won. He's been decent for us this season. He's just come back from an injury. Dom Jeffries has probably been the standout over the last few weeks. Plays centre midfield. We got him from Brentford B on a free transfer at the start of the campaign, and I think he was at Newport and Cardiff as a kid, so there was a link to Harris again. Got injured first day, and we didn't see a lot of him first period of the season, but he's got a regular run of games now. He's aggressive, he's box to box, almost a little bit sort of old school in that sense. Gets up and down, loads of energy, won't mind putting his foot in. So yeah, in terms of probably who's been our best player over the last month, I'd say Dom Jeffries. Depends how brave Harris is. This is the thing that we've said all season long as a fan base, that we've just played with the handbrake on all the time. And I understand that because we're so desperately poor in front of goal that you're trying to not lose football matches. But we're all just saying we'd rather lose 3-2 and have a go than just watch what is essentially painful football. If we go with some pace, someone like Scott Cashkit could cause some issues up front. He's like a Duracell bunny, a run all day. Good turn of foot. Again, he's not scored enough goals. He's got 2 this season, but one of them did come in the FA Cup and the other one did come at home. If I'm, again, desperately clutching at them positives and trying to find them, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. But Scotty Cashkit will cause problems if your centre halves are not at it, because he won't give them a moment's rest. Callum Harriott was the free transfer that we got in end of November, but he's working his way back to full fitness. Unfortunately, he was a victim of a wrong rape accusation, I think, as well. So he missed 18 months. So we've been trying to get him back up to speed. But it's just been fleeting moments of the player that he was before then. He earned a move to Reading and Charlton in League One and the Championship a few years ago. If we can get him up to speed, I think he could be a good player for us. But the 2 in the immediate for Saturday afternoon, based on recent games, I'd probably say Dom Jeffries and Scott Cashkit.
And your score prediction for Saturday, Matt? Are you going to be the optimistic and think The magic of the
Well,
FA.
I've got us down to score a goal, so that's optimistic from a Gill's point of view at the moment. But unfortunately, I've got us to concede 3. I just think, regardless of who Leicester play, they're going to have too much for us. Oh, Jamie Vardy's probably your cup striker now, which says a lot about the levels. I know you've got horrendous injuries. There's a few Gills fans have desperately been retweeting articles about an injury crisis and 9 people not available, but you should still have too much for us. If this goes to form, if you play anywhere near your best and we play anywhere near our best, your best is a lot better than ours at the moment. So I'm going to say Gillingham 1, Leicester 3. But we'll give it I'd like to think we'll have a real go and make sure that you've been in a game.
Oh, brilliant. Matt, thank you so much for joining us and
It's been a
running
pleasure.
through the Gillingham lineup and your optimistic opinion for the weekend. If you're watching now, there'll be another one coming out. I'm going on Matt's channel in a minute. We'll be talking everything the other way around this time from a Leicester point of view.
Yep.
But once again, thanks for coming on, Matt. Much appreciated.
No worries. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate. And there you go, another Away Fan show. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. I didn't get much on today because it's a quick show tonight. There's so much happening. Obviously, I have seen people's comments coming through, and they're not the ones we wanted to see tonight. Obviously, someone's just put that Wolves are apparently winning and Forest are winning. That now puts them all 3 or 4 of us on 17 points. And as I said last night after the game, and tweeted last night after the game, anyone that doesn't think we're in a relegation scrap needs to wake up, because we are in a relegation battle now. 18 played, 17 points isn't good enough for Leicester City Football Club at this level. And for the players we've got, we should have got more last night, in my opinion. Yes, it was a disappointing performance. Not going to say it wasn't, but you got to take your chances. Iosi Paris from 5 yards out, smashed it over the crossbar, got a score. Harvey Barnes tries the lob keeper, put it under him. We've seen it enough times. It's all about taking chances in any game, but at the moment we're not taking half the chance we're getting. Once again, thank you for joining us, and we will catch you soon on Leicester Fan TV.